So based on this sad junkyard of a roadway, you can probably not tell where I'm going. But right now I am in mostly beautiful San Diego, California. Excuse the traffic noise. You can kind of sense where I'm going. So I've already been on 2 of the newest coasters from SeaWorld this year. Doing another one on a surprise. I actually just flew out here for the day. Been in Vegas for the last few weeks, so it was an easy flight. Took the free bus to Old Town, had some breakfast, and now because I wanted to save $10, I decided to walk the 3 miles to SeaWorld. So far I've passed 0 businesses, and well, there was 1 motel under an underpass and a self-storage. But there's been 0 stores. Haven't even seen a gas price to tell you what it is out here in California, though I know it's close to $6. But I'm about to have fun, so follow me at SeaWorld San Diego. Welcome to Corbin's Coasters and More. I am finally here, SeaWorld San Diego, and it looks a lot like SeaWorld San Antonio from the outside. I'm excited to ride the new coaster, even though it's probably very similar to a couple of rides I've been on. They also have a Skyrocket too. They have some sort of family launch coaster as well that I don't know anything about, haven't watched the POV. So, I mean, I'm excited to see it. This is one of the lesser known theme parks in the country. Coming up to it, little traffic. Security line was a little long, but it's a Monday. But it's a beautiful Monday, like 70 degrees, 69, so looking forward to it. First up is Electric Eel. I was gonna go straight back to Emperor and ride it, but this one right now is sporting a 5-minute wait, so figure why not. I don't know if it is, but I'm gonna look it up. It looks bigger than Tigris, but it does look like the exact same ride, so I'm guessing it's an exact clone. But it's an Intamin Skyrocket too. We'll see if it's the same or better than Tigris. So it was less like 5 minutes and more like 20, but that did get me a back row ride, which this has to go a little bit above Tigris, because as you can see, there are 3 trains at 3 rows each, where Tigris only has 2. I can't remember about Superman up in Vallejo. So that's the same model as well. But now that one's pretty cool because it goes through, you know, the painted tunnel. But being in the back row on this one does add a little bit, because when you go on the reverse launch, you go completely to the top, which does not happen on Tigris. And in the background, you can see their version of Atlantis that every SeaWorld has. This one looks somewhere in between San Antonio and Orlando. So unfortunately, it is down, I assume, for seasonal maintenance. But Emperor is open. I think it's hilarious. They call this California's tallest, fastest dive coaster. Well, guess what? There's only one other. And it's only 2 hours away, if that, in Knott's Berry. I have low expectations for this ride, but I'm gonna ride it and I'm gonna report back. Hey look, they added gravel to make it not a parking lot coaster. One thing I noticed, this does not have the second big drop that most dive coasters have, probably because it's only 140 drop to start with, which is about the height of the second drop on most dive coasters. Pretty underwhelming, even with my low expectations. So one other interesting thing about this ride, it's the only B&M dive I've ever seen that's only 6 across. Maybe Baron at Efteling was only 6 across. Yeah, only 6 seats across. It only holds you for about 2 seconds. It really feels like the second half of a good dive coaster. But yeah, there's definitely not much to it. It's very quick. Now I will say it's a GP pleaser for sure. The people here in San Diego are a very under-thrilled community. Everyone here is terrified of this giant drop, but you know, most parks this would be the 6th or 7th, 5th biggest drop. So all in all, I'd say pretty disappointing. And I'll put the rating that I come up with on the screen there. I will say I do have a surprise bonus. It's a surprise to myself too, as if this trip wasn't a surprise enough. There is another coaster outside of this park within walking distance that I'm pretty sure I'm going to ride, and I'm going to put it at the end of this video, because I do not believe it would take very long to get through this park. And 2 rides so far. I mean, obviously I've ridden a Skyrocket about 100 times, and Emperor is not worth re-riding. So it was pretty cool. I'll put a little clip probably before this of the suckerfish that they have at the front of the park. That's pretty cool. They come up and suck on your hands. I've never had anything happen like that. So that was pretty cool. Some of the animal exhibits, they have crabs, octopus, some unique things that they don't have at the other locations. So I don't even remember the name of it. I know there's a launched coaster. Hearing rumors that it might not be open, which would be very disappointing, but we will see. Also, I just have to mention the false advertising on this sign. It makes it look like this is going to be an immaculately themed coaster when it's a parking lot coaster on a dead end. The Otter Exhibit in the wild Arctic area, and as in SeaWorld Orlando, they have closed the exhibit, or they've closed the ride, and they just have the attraction open. That seems to be a trend with SeaWorld. This park's starting to make me wonder, SeaWorld the new Six Flags? I mean, kind of sad operations. I forgot to tell you at the last ride, there's a new weird rule I never heard, so I'm wearing flip-flops. One person told me that I could choose to wear them, so I went to put them on the side, and they said, no, you have to sit on them. And then another person said, no, you have to wear it on your wrists. I ended up sitting on it, but not really comfortable with that. If you get any airtime, you know, they might fly. But fortunately for me, the Emperor has no airtime. So these animal exhibits are much more interesting than the rides here. So, for whatever that's worth. This is the exact same penguin encounter as San Antonio has. We do have some baby chicks in the nursery over here. Or at least eggs. Always like the penguins, even though it smells awful. Again, the animals are definitely the show here. They're trying with the coasters, I guess. Emperor is a skippable one. Penguins are cute. This is Manta at SeaWorld San Antonio, not to be confused with the B&M Flying Coaster in Orlando. This one's a mock multi-launch, one of the original ones. That's my first mock multi-launch, and this one's clearly made to be a family coaster. There was a pre-show bit that wasn't working. You're kind of going back and forth in this little video tunnel. Unfortunately, the video wasn't working. I imagine it's supposed to be a like an underwater scene that would probably rate this even higher for me. This is by far the most complete coaster in the park. which doesn't take much. And I would say it's the second best coaster in the park, clearly. You got the Electric Eel would be number 1, this would be number 2, and Emperor would be 3. Now that's with me not being able to ride Atlantis, but I've ridden the full version of Atlantis, very similar to I've ridden the full version of Emperor. And so it looks like it's basically the second half of Atlantis from Orlando, which would rate below this for sure. And then there's a Skywarp ride that is presumably permanently closed, as the other one is, which from what I hear is possibly the worst coaster on Earth. So, pretty interesting. The launch was stronger than what I expected it to be. The first and second launch actually were stronger than I thought. The ride was longer than I expected. As I said, it's a complete ride. One interesting thing about this, you actually go down to enter the ride, which I've never done. So this ride's only 30 feet tall, 30 something feet. It has a 50 plus foot drop, which is kind of cool. I guess they used to have a height limit that they could go to here when this was built in 2012. So they did that to be creative. So it's really nice looking ride. And I enjoyed it. I will say one thing I'm not liking is that all of the signs have said either 5 or 10 minute waits. This one was over 30 despite saying 5. Still not a really long wait at all. But just, if you're gonna have the wait time signs, you know, be accurate about it. So I was wrong. Not permanently closed. It was closed when I looked the other day. I am about to get one of the rarest coaster credits in the world. And I expect to absolutely hate it. But hopefully my expectations will be blown away.
The water is because they all breathing through their skin surfaces. So their skin and those little openings in their skin, like little pores, those are done by absorbing oxygen from the water. So that's why they have to stay in the water all the time.
So I gotta say, the Skyline Skywarp is not nearly as bad as I thought it was gonna be. It's actually not even the worst ride in the park. Backwards, it's not worse than Emperor. I don't think I would rank it over Emperor. Yeah, it's not a bad ride. Forward, it's very and janky. Now, I will say this makes me appreciate RMC a lot, because it's the only single rail I think I've ever been on that's not an RMC. I think it's the only one around that's not RMC. And theirs are so glass smooth and this is so janky. But a lot of the reason is you can see these tires on the bottom. Every time they spin through, you can feel it on this giant bar that's between you and the other train. Now, also not having the other train running, I think probably makes it jankier because you don't have the counterweight to balance the weight on the first car. But just lucky that it was running at all. Again, I thought this was closed permanently. I think everyone did. And I'm pretty sure in Vallejo it is. There's only 2 of them in the world, and they're actually both different. It's a lot of people say it's the worst coaster they've ever been on. I disagree. 100% I disagree. It's not even going below my red line. I would ride it again if I was ever to come back to this park, which they'd have to have something major for me to come back to this park. But if I was ever to come back, I would definitely ride that. Now, I do need to know, let me know in the comments, does this count as 1 or 2 credits? I rode it forward and backward, and to me, it is a completely different experience, backward and forward. When I rode it backward, I was on the back train. Lots of airtime, good hang time. It was actually a lot of fun. When I was going forward, I was in the middle row, but there was absolutely no airtime, and it just felt like a carnival ride. But I'm counting it as 2 credits unless somebody corrects me. But to me, backwards is an extra credit, which means thinking about that. I need to give myself an extra one for Batman the Ride at Great America when I rode it backwards. But let me know what you think, because I know I'm weird with some of my credit rules. And if you don't know what my credit rules are, watch my video called What is a Credit, where I describe all my rules. And I always like to know what yours are as well. And sometimes I change it up a little bit. You know, like I'm kind of on board with, you know, when it has a red track and a blue track, that is actually 2 credits. But I haven't counted that to this point. But it is technically 2 different coasters. It's like having a clone of each other, or similar to a clone. But that is actually the last coaster I'll get to ride in this park, with Atlantis being closed. But like I said, there still is one around the corner. But I definitely have to find somewhere to charge my phone before I go any farther. So again, thanks for watching Corbin's Coasters and More. But there is more to this video. Had to wait for the turnaround there. But there's definitely no coasters in the top 50. I haven't ranked them quite yet. Like I said, I'll put the rankings on the screen. You will have seen them by now. Nothing's in the top 50. Maybe one thing is kind of close with Manta, but I don't think so. Nothing is bottom either. Nothing was really bad, which, as I said earlier, I expected really bad things from the Skyrocket ride, or not Skyrocket, the Skyline ride, this Sidewinder. But all in all, it's a good experience. I would not tell you to come all the way to San Diego for this park. If you were going to go to one attraction in San Diego, I would say Old Town or the San Diego Zoo way before this, either one of them. Especially because, I mean, SeaWorld's not cheap. If this was like a $40 park, I'd say, yeah, do this. But if you have season passes for the Orlando one, it makes it a great deal, obviously, or if you have season passes for San Antonio. Now, San Antonio is one of my least favorite theme parks in the entire country, maybe ever. My least favorite full-size theme park. It's just pretty sad. But this one has a lot to do, really, especially the shows. I mean, I like animals. This one has a lot of really good animal exhibits. The shark exhibit, you actually get to walk above and below the tanks. The penguins have an indoor and outdoor. You get to see the cold and warm weather penguins. The Pinniped show here was themed to TV shows instead of to a corny high school. So there's a lot of good things. I did promise you the Pier Park, and I'm gonna go do that coaster in a few minutes. And I'm actually gonna put it on the next video. So I'm gonna do a part 2 of this, and I'm gonna put it up tomorrow. So make sure you watch that. Thanks for watching Corbin's Coasters and More.